Good morning, this is Sonia from An Enthusiastic Reader, and I am doing a tag today. It is a Friday, and I'm doing a tag, and it's not Tuesday, and I'm not doing a Friday Reads. What in the world is going on? But I'll tell you what in the world is going on is I'm doing the tag Alphabet Soup. W is for writer. It's part of the Alphabet series from Sean the Book Maniac, and he has created these really interesting sets of questions kind of based around a particular letter of the alphabet. He's not doing them in alphabetical order, and this one is W, and there are lots of good questions and prompts in this tag, so here we go. Question 1 is W is for writer. A writer you've met, know, or have seen in real life. Doesn't have to be really famous, but should have at least been published. And I've had quite a bit of experience personally working with especially local writers who are working on, when I was in publishing for a small press that I co-owned, we published about 50 books. Some were repeat, like poets, and we also did short stories, and we did some creative nonfiction as well. So those are all people that I have worked with. I've also had my own clients that I work with who self-publish different books, and so all of those, I've had really good working relationships with those writers over the years and have enjoyed that very much, and I still have clients that I work with today. So those are writers I'm not going to list, but I will tell you the readings that I have been to almost all through the Tattered Cover here in Denver and or the Lighthouse Writers Workshop, who bring in writers. When you're not having a pandemic, they will bring in a lot of different writers for different experiences. They'll do lectures, they'll do craft talks, and sell their books. And so all of the writers I'm going to list here were basically brought in from Lighthouse to do talks about the writing process mostly. And so I have seen Colson Whitehead. They brought him in for a whole weekend. I've seen George Saunders, Mary Karr, Jennifer Egan, Cheryl Strayed, Kazuko Ishiguro, Carmen Marita Machado. She did a lecture called All Houses Are Haunted Houses, and this was, I think, when she was probably writing her memoir about her abusive relationship. Rachel Cusk, Helen McDonald, Heidi Patour, who is the long-running editor of the Best American Short Stories series, and so she's the editor, and she always works with another writer to cull all the short stories that were published and come up with about 20 for the anthology. And Lauren Groff also came, and this was, when did Lauren come? I think it was right after Fate and Furies came out, and so she gave this incredible lecture about her writing process and how I remember particularly that she talked about she does not talk about the project she's working on with anyone until she's like several drafts or several years into the project, and I thought that was interesting. She writes, I really, really loved her novel Arcadia, and I loved Fates and Furies. That's, if you've been watching this channel for a while, you know I like kind of weird novels with different forms, and I really liked Fates and Furies. I know a lot of people did not like it, but I think she's a really good novelist, and I think a lot of her short stories are really good too. The second prompt is W is for war. The last great book you read about war, and or one you want to read, or why you don't want to read war books. And so the last really good war book that I read is called The Daughters of Mars by Thomas, I'm gonna say Canali, but I think maybe it's pronounced differently. So if you know that this is not how it's pronounced, please tell me in the comments how to pronounce it. But The Daughters of Mars. He wrote Schindler's List, and he's a very, very prolific Australian novelist. And The Daughters of Mars is like this epic novel about World War I and Australia's participation in the war. And it centers around two sisters who are nurses on a battleship. And so it's about their experiences as being nurses on the ship, and all of their personal lives are intertwined too. But he is a very strong novelist, and I think if you haven't read any of his novels, you would be pleasantly surprised at what a great author he is, or great writer. Question 3, W is for writer.com. A writer you recommend or want to read whose first and or last name starts with W. I'm recommending the Ben H. Winters series, The Last Policeman series, which is a series of 3 police detective novels that are occurring during a time of extreme crisis on Earth. So this may or may not be the best time for someone to read a book like this, but they're funny. All of them, the writing is funny. You really grow to adore and love the main character, who is a policeman who, you know, why would you still want to be hunting or trying to solve crimes and murders when the world is in such turmoil? So kind of apt, maybe not, but they're great. They're really good, and you read them very quickly. They're not very long, and there are 3 in this series, so that's what I'm throwing out there. W is for Wait and See, a book or writer you're not ready to try yet, and why. The book I have owned for over 20 years and have never read is Moby Dick. I think why I haven't read it is probably obvious. I am very intimidated by it. I think I won't understand it. I think I'll be bored by the whale parts, and I know this isn't true, and so my mind is vacillating, always on the edge. Should I or shouldn't I read it? I think it might be a good buddy read, perhaps, but not there right now. Number 5, W. What's the title? A book with at least 2 W's in the title, bonus points for more than 2. This one has a bunch more than 2. It's called What the World Will Look Like When All the Water's Gone by Laura Vandenberg. And this is a book of short stories. Vandenberg is a short story writer, obviously, and I remember liking this collection, and I remember absolutely 0 of the stories and nothing about it. So take that for what it's worth. I did give it, I think, like 4 stars. W is for Women, a great book you've read recently by a female. I read a lot of books by women, but the one I thought to talk about is the short story collection Birds of America by Lori Moore. I mean, almost every story, I think there were 2 stories I didn't like, but every other story in this collection was like an A+ for me. It's a very strong collection, and it makes me want to read more Lori Moore short stories. And my library actually just acquired a bunch of her old collections, so when they become available, I will probably pick them up. Number 7, W is for word, one you encountered recently in your reading that was new to you and or your favorite word. And the word I'm choosing is a new word that was new to me, a form of a word anyway, and it is blent, B-L-E-N-T, and it is the past and past participle of blend. But I just really wish this form was still in use. I really liked they blent the formula, or they blent the ingredients together instead of blended. Blended sounds so, ugh, it just doesn't roll off the tongue. So if I were a poet and I wanted to talk about blending something, I would use the word blent. Number 9, W is for whippersnapper, a writer who writes or wrote shockingly well at such a young age, and for that I choose Donna Tartt. She wrote The Secret History when she was quite young. She was like a publishing phenom at the time. Now she's quite a bit older. I don't know exactly how old she is. Maybe I'll look it up and put it in the show notes, but The Secret History was a book that really got me back into reading after I had babies. There were like a 3-year desert when I did not read at all when I had little kids. And then my mom brought me down a copy of The Secret History and said, you should read this. And so I did, and it just totally pulled me right back into my reading life. And so I'm really grateful for that. And plus, I love that novel. I think I've read it 2 or 3 times over 30 years, and it still holds up for me, and I love Donna Tartt. So W is for Weakest Link, a book in a series or in a favorite author's realm that wasn't nearly as good as all the others, and I just yesterday decided that this book was terrible, or I won't say terrible, but it really didn't live up to any of the other books in her series, and that is the Armand Gamache series by Louise Penny. The book is the 10th, The Long Way Home by Louise Penny, and I mean, I had heard through the grapevine that this wasn't a very good book, and I was just thinking to myself, oh, how bad could it be? I'm sure but it was not very good. It was boring. It didn't have the layers of mystery and things that are happening in Gamache's life piled in. It didn't really address some of the key pressing issues from the past that I feel need to be addressed. And so, boy, it was a dud. And I'm glad to have it past me, and I'm looking forward to the next one, which I haven't heard is bad, so I'm assuming is good. And number 11 is tag. W is for whosoever, tag wantonly. This tag has been around for a long time. I know a lot of people have done it, but if you haven't done it and you'd like to, you should. I've put all the questions down below, so, you know, cut and paste them and just do it, please. And thank you for watching all the way to the end. Have a good weekend, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.